Hi everyone, Leslie here from Just Less Creations. Today we are doing a tutorial on melting chocolate in a double boiler. First thing we're going to do is take a heavy bottom pan, and I put about an inch of water in the bottom. Put it on my stove. I light my stove, put it up almost on high, and then I put my pan on the stove and I'm going to let it come to a boil. While that's on the stove, I'm going to grab my stainless steel mixing bowl that will fit on top of my pot, and I'm going to open up a bag of candy melts that already has the color. It's already pre-colored. I'm going to put it in that pan, and I'm going to wait for that water to come to a rolling boil. Now once it comes to a boil, I'm going to put my pan on there. I'm with my chocolate in there, and I'm going to turn my stove top off. I don't need any more heat to that water. If my boiling water is at 212, then it's not going to take long to melt my chocolate completely as the steam heats up the bottom of that metal pan. So all I'm going to do is stir my chocolate in this pan. I'm just going to continually stir until all the chunks of chocolate have completely melted. I'm not adding any thinner to my chocolate at this point in time. We don't want to do any of that kind of stuff until our chocolate has been completely melted. There's still a little chunk, so I'm just going to let this sit here for a few more minutes and I'll come back, and by that point in time all the chocolate should be melted. I am not seeing any chunks of chocolate in here, but what I am seeing right now, my chocolate is on the thicker side. It doesn't pour off of my spoon the way I would like it to at this point. So I'm going to add a little bit of a thinning agent. I prefer to use shortening. I don't want to add any more than that. And then I'm just going to stir it until it completely melts and then emulsifies into my chocolate. All right, now I can see at this point in time that it is not running off of my spoon the way I would like it to. We have to take a step back and analyze our situation. We know that our chocolate is completely melted. We also know that we just added a thinning agent to help thin the chocolate. But in our case, it did not thin the chocolate. It actually looks like that it got thicker. So we need to deduce, why did it get thicker? So the other thing that we need to look at is, did our chocolate get too hot? All right, so when our chocolate gets to be over around 120 to 125 degrees, it runs the risk of becoming burnt, or it runs the risk of seizing in our bowl, and we don't want that. We want to avoid that at all costs. So we know that our chocolate is completely melted. We know that the thinning agent that we added did not thin it and actually caused it to go thicker. So now we need to look at what is the temperature of our chocolate. So let's go ahead and test our theory. And here you go, my temperature came to 122 degrees, so I know that it's too hot. I want to take it off the stove. And we just let it sit, and we let it cool down on its own. And now we're down to 112. We're just going to let it sit for a few minutes. And the longer we let it sit, and we just keep stirring occasionally, we can see now that it's cooling down. It's really starting to pour off of the spoon, but it's still pulling inside the pan. So we're just going to be patient. Let's test it again. Again, we're looking for it to come between 100 and 105. temperature is getting better. So now that it's between 100 and 105, and it is starting to pour off of my spoon nicely, however, what I'm seeing is it's pulling right there on the top of my chocolate. It looks like there's a little tower. So we know at this point that we need to add a thickening agent to that. So we're just adding another teaspoon to my chocolate. And we're just going to go ahead and stir it until it's completely emulsified in there. We're just going to stir it. We're going to let it become integrated. And now we're just pouring it, and it's better. It's not creating that high tower, but it's looking much better. Let's go ahead and see if we can test that temperature one more time to see where we're at. Because now we know that everything's melted. We know that we added a thinning agent in there. So now what we want to do is just make sure that our temperature has stayed right in that range that we need it to be. And as long as the temperature's there, then we'll know that we should be good to go. Right where I want it to be, right at 101, right in that beautiful range that we shoot for. As you can see, the chocolate is just pouring off very nicely. The chocolate hasn't pulled away from the side. It stays nice and soupy. So we are ready to go to dip our pops.